Leonard. I sent you an email on Canvas, and I spoke to Melissa, the department chair, this morning, and we decided we would try to do a Zoom and maybe review some of your suggestions for revision. So what I have here, I'm sharing the screen, and I'm just going to go through. We've got your essay here. As you can see on the screen, for some reason, you are in an email that is defunct. It says 919@gmail. That's not the email that we're using. So I don't know quite why that's happening, but we were able to work around it a little bit on Google Docs. So there you go. And as you can see, I've read your paper and made a lot of suggestions. So some of it's checking logic, but the biggest situation that's going on here that needs revision is that the sources are not cited. So we can look at an example where you say, you're right, very few reasons and factors are known as to why there were various stresses of teachers. There's two things with that. Where is this information coming from? Is this you just saying this? Remember, in academic writing, we're only biting off as much as we can chew with evidence from these research that we've done, the texts. And if there's a study that's been conducted, we only use that part of the study that can support an assertion. So here you have different surveys revealed. Now, in academic writing, we're always going to say, who did the study? Where was it from? You're going to establish the credentials. And you're going to have to be, if you say various factors, I mean, we're trying to delve in with a little more specificity here. And what are the factors and how is the study demonstrating this? And what is the study? What's the institution from which it is coming? So that is going on throughout the essay. In this kind of writing, you can't just make an assertion. And the other thing that's happening here is that what you're actually writing it's kind of generalized. Schools are dependent. There's few reasons and factors and various. And usually what we're trying to do here is create paragraphs that have a unity of topic. So that's why we emphasize the topic sentence and a transition, then a topic sentence, which announces what the content of the paragraph is going to be. So if you're writing, teachers experience stressful moments and low well-being. Now, what is the study? How was it measured? It's probably taking place in a certain university, or we want to know the specifics of a study. If you just say different studies or research shows, that's not really going to be enough to establish credibility. Okay, and here I've told you a couple of times, we don't need this whole header on every page, just the first page. And again, here we have the majority of teachers face the techniques that were already known before the lockdown. If teachers felt constrained, again, who is asserting this? Is it just you off the cuff? And if so, that's not really the way that academic writing, we're trying to convince readers of something based on credible sources which support our ideas as we present them one by one. Okay, so the teachers have undergone various levels of stress in distance learning. As a result, they were expected to adjust themselves. Again, if you're going to talk about stress in teachers, it'd probably be better if you had a particular aspect of that stress that was supported by a particular piece of evidence that you have. So what we have here is kind of a hodgepodge of generalizations, probably derived from some of the research that you did. I looked up a couple of them. They were interesting, but again, it needs to be formed in an organization that is idea by idea. So it has some kind of cohesion. We go from one, looks like you're going to be talking about educational stressors due to the pandemic for the most part. And then you can talk about teachers, you can talk about students. You have to find some way that you're going to organize it. So I did want you to look at this document. And I gave you the link to it in an email. And this seems to be, this document it's about introductions and concluding paragraph. Now I keep writing to you, don't write in conclusion. And you keep writing in conclusion. Just that kind of indicates to me that you might not be looking at these instructions too carefully or referring back to them to kind of refresh a bit. Do not use the phrase in conclusion. And then it tells about concluding paragraphs. Transitions, I'm giving you some examples there, and I understand that sometimes examples using some of the other texts from class are, carrying over to help you write your essay. Unfortunately, what we've got here are the instructions and some examples, and you're going to have to piece it together from there. So anytime you're citing, I'm going to let you read the part about transitions, but this seems to be the main part. So read the elements of citation and quotation very carefully. Quotation, I don't see any quotation at all in your essay, actually. And remember, as we did our original assignments in the course, we did a blend of paraphrase and direct quotation in order to convey the content of our different sources. We started in class with just the one source, and then we did one with two sources, and now we have, multiple sources. All right. And so every time you want to do a direct quote, you're going to pick something memorable, and it's going to be an integration of memorable language and paraphrase of the ideas from a source. So here seems to be the one big issue. So you're going to integrate a new source. When you have a new source that is going to be, bolstering the evidence, or you're going to be showing the evidence to make your point, you're going to include the author's first and last name, as well as some establishing credentials. Sometimes you can say what university they're from, or if they're, the director of neuroscience. And here I did an example based on one of the readings. Researcher and social psychologist Alison Ledgerwood, in her TED Talk, A Simple Trick to Improve Positive Thinking. That one, it establishes where the research is coming from, who has done it. A TED Talk has its own, kind of oomph with credibility. So that's okay. So the reader knows, oh, okay, well, that seems pretty good. Let's see what she has to say. All right. And then I go on to use only the last name. Ledgerwood's research suggests that negativity. So when you're on your source, you introduce first, last name. Now, sometimes it can be a group of researchers, and then you just say a group of researchers from the University of just to make things more readable. You're not going to, if you list every researcher, it can be cumbersome in your text and harder for a reader to follow. And here, if you've already introduced the text, I'm repeating this, if you've already established the credibility, where it's from, or the title, the credentials of the author, then you're just going to use their last name as you go on to describe. Now, I don't just mean don't use their first and last name. I mean, you have to insert their name to give them credit for ideas that are paraphrased or things that were derived from a study they conducted. You've got to keep their name in the mix so that the reader can always tell where something came from. All right. And so you can see it here. Carr furthers his argument on the downside of current technology, pointing out the internet. And then there's a quote, and this habit of mine, according to Carr. There you go. So anyway, I think that would be helpful. So the other thing you can do is, if you look at the article, Does the Internet Make You Dumber, by Nicholas Carr, you'll see that in this text, it does what you're supposed to be doing. Another experiment conducted at Stanford University, Communications Between Human and the Media Lab. So you have this establishment of credibility. So as you're reading, you say, wow, this guy's packed with credible scientific evidence. And it's possible to read it as you go with the credentials incorporated. Okay. So I am suggesting that you take another look at that, just to kind of get a feel for how much of a mouthful it is. You do have to establish it. And then after it's established, then you can just refer to the last name of the author or researchers or whatever the case may be. Okay, so that is what we've got going there. So you will see here that I've made lots of comments here, in most cases from research. Now, again, I mean, the problem with making a lot of comments here, in order for you to, check a sentence or something, really what's needed is a structure in which there is a main idea in each paragraph, just like there was in the previous essays, although this one will have more of a informational, educational feel. But but here, I just don't know. This is all unclear to a reader where any of this is coming from. If it's you assessing other research, or and if it is, the dysfunctional coping strategies have been used in the context of avoiding proactive and deliberate mastery of a new situation. Now, is that from a experiment? Is that from surveys that were conducted? We really need to know what is going on there. So first order of business, you've got to decide what the main ideas are of a paragraph. Then you've got to construct a topic sentence, which and it could be one or two sentences. It should be right at the beginning of the paragraph where you're going to introduce the topic, and then you're going to make sure that the source you're going to cite is fully introduced just in a common sense way that someone reading it would know where it's from, like in Nicholas Carr's article. So you do have to say what the credentials or establish credibility. Okay, so and then here, you're putting references, and you've got 3, and so this just tells me that you didn't look at the works cited document or the instructions for that, or maybe you did, but you need to refresh yourself on those, because this is not the most crucial part of the paper. It's more important that you get those paragraphs going with the good credible citation and an organization which follows one idea to the next. About, I think it's going to be education in the pandemic and the different, offshoot ideas of that. I think that's how you're going. And remember, this is essay 1 and 2 combined. 3 and 4 combined. We broke it up so it wouldn't be a gigantic task. And you've already done the first part. And feel free to make sure you can revise according to all the comments on the first part. And what you're handing in next is the whole 2,000 words, okay? And then hopefully you will look at the works cited document, which gives you the instructions of how to do a works cited. So let's just take a look. This is something else I just want to leave the site. And in here, there's comments over here. So make sure that we've got transitions, topic sentences. I am making comments in the teacher comments on Google Docs. So hopefully you are studying those a little bit and giving them a try. And then, it would have been ideal. I'll check tomorrow to see if you've revised a paragraph. How about that? You revise a paragraph, email it to me on Canvas. If it's not on the Canvas website, it kind of gets lost in a morass of 1,000 emails. So that's how students email me during the semester. Okay, so if you go to modules, we're just you just click on it, and then the first module is just resources. So you could look at the MLA basics, writing focused paragraphs, another look at analysis paragraphs. Again, this research paper has a little bit more of a reporting informational feel, so it won't have the same. You can of course apply your own experience in there. That always makes it more interesting, but it's going to have a slightly different tone than the other. Revise, revisit. So revision is the key to writing these papers. At least you got something down on the page. So now it's time to rethink and re-strategize how you can do this in a way that someone would be informed through your use of credible sources about a given topic. So here, I just wanted to show you what works cited looks like. And that's what it looks like. Okay, so I should be able to click on the web address, and it should be alphabetical order, and it's double spaced. That's pretty much how it looks. So that doesn't have to be perfect. It just suggests that maybe you didn't take a look at that. So that's an example of works cited. Okay, so how about this, Leonard? You can email me a revised paragraph for the second half. And remember, there's the Writing Center as well as a resource that you can use. And usually it is good to go paragraph by paragraph to make sure that you've got some sort of transition, a topic sentence. You've got source material or evidence that's a blend of paraphrase and quotation. And remember, these are the skills that we have been building throughout the semester. In the first papers, in the first assignments, That's what we have been doing. So hopefully this is somewhat helpful to you, and I will check my email tomorrow. My office hours, I'll do it tomorrow because it'll be due at midnight. So let me just double check this. We're going to go here, and we've got this. It's April 21st. Okay, so that is going to be due. And remember, you can always review the instructions again and again. And then as you repeat your reading of them, sometimes that helps things become clear, because they are a mix of step-by-step instructions. I even give you an option of exactly what each paragraph should contain, not the content or the topic, but the organization. Okay, so that is that's all the instructions. So, and you've come a long way with the research, but now you're going to have to integrate it into kind of a meaningful and organized structure. All right, Leonard, I think that is it. I'm going to stop sharing, and I will check tomorrow for any kind of revised paragraph that you've done, and hopefully you will be able to examine those points of revision, and you'll see patterns or repeated patterns that are going on there. Again, most important thing at this point is to understand how to incorporate credible sources in your paragraphs, and have the paragraphs have a main idea and be specific. Okay, so those are just some tips, and remember that all those how-to documents are in the first module. So hopefully you're able to kind of refresh yourself how to write an introduction, how to write a conclusion, how to write a transition. It's all in there in various ways to give you various access points, because everyone needs a different way of explaining, and we have a couple of options there. Sometimes it's the Google Slides, sometimes it's a document. Okay. And sometimes it's an example, and then sometimes it's just a document with step-by-step instructions. All right, Leonard, I hope that's helpful. Take care and good luck on your essay.